This week, I was inspired. Thanks to a recommendation in my comments, I found a great channel called Gemma Wheeler Architecture. She creates designs for these odd old buildings and uses these incredible visualizations to communicate her design ideas. I'm working on my own designs for an odd old building, this 1875 Philadelphia row home that I bought a couple months ago. Looking back at the design visualizations I've done so far, I think we can do a little bit better. First, I deduced she's using a program called Lumion, and unfortunately it's a bit expensive. The good news is they offer a free trial, so I booted it up, but my old graphics card couldn't quite keep up with this program. That's nothing a new GeForce RTX 4060 can't fix. All right, so things are looking a lot smoother with the new graphics card. I can actually work in the program, but this whole funhouse look is not what we're going for. There's a whole library of materials and objects in here to explore. Let's get some wood flooring. Okay, better, but it changed the countertop too. Got to figure that out. Okay, we got some chairs. I don't think that's what we want, but what about like a refrigerator? Okay. This is definitely going to take some time to get to a presentable state. Bear with me.
3 days later.
I really like the general concept of this gradient of light as you go from a dark, cozy living room through the kitchen to this bright, airy plant/dining room. Now that I'm showing a little bit more than just a white box with some kitchen cabinets, I'd love to hear what you think of some of my design choices here. Of course, none of this is set in stone. This is just kind of a first stab, but as I actually build out this space, I'm sure things will change. Welcome back to the ongoing segment in the show where I try to make this house as dusty as possible. This week, with the assistance of some power tools. First step, PPE. All right, now we're ready to get to work. If the mission was to make dust, I think we did a great job. But as far as making the brick look better, I think it's a marginal improvement. I think we're moving in the right direction. So let's do the same thing downstairs on the vestibule. The next project I want to get started on today is getting rid of a little bit more of this plaster. We've taken a lot off so far around the house, but there's so much plaster left to remove. This is where I want to expose the brick all the way up the staircase, and luckily the plaster isn't on the brick, so we don't have to deal with scraping it all off like we just did. We could just get this plaster off and expose this cool old lumber. I'm excited to see what condition it's in back here. I think it'll be good. I don't think any water has been getting in here, so I think the wood will be in good shape, but let's check it out. This is gonna look so cool. I didn't expect to find this giant diagonal brace in here. And in the final design, this wood here isn't really gonna be doing anything, so it could be taken out, but I think I wanna leave it. Obviously, it's just so cool to see the original construction. And remember, all the way up there, there's gonna be skylights. So like this header here could turn into a shelf for plants. And also down here, this big beam could kind of become a shelf just to really celebrate the light well and kind of have like a green wall all the way up through the house. I am covered in dust after all that, so I guess mission accomplished on that front. And we got a cool wall. Check it out. So cool. It's like 150 years old. How about that? Let's check in now with our lath pile. Really fun. So let me know if you think this is stupid, but I kind of want to save this. I don't know if it'll look cool when it's sanded down, but you know, like those modern wood slat walls that everyone has nowadays? I'm not a huge fan. I don't know. It's kind of cool. But when it's reusing original historic lath from the property, I think like a slat wall becomes much cooler and much more a part of the story here. So let me know if you have any creative ideas on how you could reuse this old lath. Now sit back and relax as I sort through all this, trash anything that's unusable, and take all the nails out to make it safer. Well, that was fun. Look at all my lath, nicely denailed. And a fun fact for you, back in colonial times, they used to burn down houses to reclaim the nails because nails were more valuable than the wood. They were hard to manufacture. And if I was in colonial times, I'd be a very wealthy man. Got all these old nails. They're all brittle. And because of that fact, I'm almost tempted to save all these rusty nails, but I think I'll use my better judgment and throw them in the trash. Unless you say otherwise, give me a good reason to save these nails and I'll do it. My channel is still pretty small, so I don't have any channel sponsors, so I'm gonna sponsor the video. The images I've been using as thumbnails for this project are part of a photo series I did in 2021 documenting 100 old row homes of Philadelphia, and I really fell in love with the historic character of these old homes. I chose 4 of my favorite row home images to offer as prints. I create each one of these prints myself, and each one comes signed and shipped flat right to your door. So if you've been enjoying the series and you want to support me through this process, definitely consider picking up one of these prints, especially if you love old homes as much as I do. Now we're going to take a break from the house for a quick side quest. So you might remember about a month ago, I went out to Detroit to set up an exhibition of my work in the Highrises project. I created this photo series of cool Art Deco skyscrapers. It's a photo book, and also I'm traveling around the country with an exhibition of these large prints. And it seems like just yesterday that I set it up. Now we have to go back to the Guardian building in Detroit to tear down all the prints, pack them up, and drive them out to Pittsburgh, where the next leg of the show will be on display. And there's gonna be an opening reception Friday, October 11th. The link is in the description for the Eventbrite. So if you happen to be in the Pittsburgh area, definitely consider coming to check it out. So just like that, the Detroit show is over. It was up here in the Guardian building for a month, but now we're off to Pittsburgh. And somehow we fit the whole exhibition into one car. We have 16 big 40-inch by 60-inch frames, 8 temporary partitions that I built in a previous episode, and of course this model of the Carbide and Carbon building in Chicago, which is a great part of the exhibition. And now it's going to Pittsburgh. I thought that I was going to be driving back to Pittsburgh with Mark, who is the writer and researcher for the project. He did all the copy for the book, but plans have changed. This trip just got a whole lot more interesting. So I realized last minute that I need to be in Chicago. So the Highrises show was in the Chicago Architecture Center all summer, and some of my prints are going to be auctioned at a gala happening tomorrow. Now, I didn't think I'd have to be there, but I got an email today that I was expected to be there to sign books and sign these prints. So luckily, the Chicago Architecture Center agreed to reimburse some travel expenses. So I changed my plans very quickly, and now I'm on the road to Chicago. I'm about halfway through this 4.5-hour drive, and I'm right outside of Kalamazoo. It's not really important to the story, but I just think that's a fun town name to say. Instead of taking the easy route and getting some unhealthy fast food, I decided to test out the local bar scene of Kalamazoo. So I'm at this off the beaten path little bar. So hopefully I can get a good burger and a beer to relax after all of this driving. So let's check it out. Tomorrow's the gala, and unfortunately, I did not pack for such an event. All I have is a t-shirt, one pair of boxers, socks, deodorant. I actually forgot a phone charger. I forgot a toothbrush. I'm not prepared for this. All right, we got our toothbrush. Still need to find some gala appropriate clothing, and we got a couple hours to get out to Detroit, so let's get going. When I was first traveling around the country to photograph this project, most of the time I had to wake up for sunrise, and I was always in a rush. So it was a real treat to just sleep in this morning. I'm not in a huge rush. I don't have a ton to do. The event starts at 5 o'clock, so I'll be there plenty early. Now I get to just enjoy the drive. Hotel room number 2, beautiful city of Chicago. Now we gotta step up the wardrobe a little bit. All right, this is much better. Got this whole outfit at H&M. So now I guess we've got a gala to get to. It's a mouthful. Just got back from the gala. Incredible event. Between book sales and the print auctions, we raised over $10,000 for the Chicago Architecture Center's outreach. I'm so glad that we were able to make it work, that I was able to go. And literally it was just yesterday that I realized I'd be attending this event. The top bids on some of the prints were like $2,600. So to see my work valued at that price is incredible. It's been a long day, so I'm gonna get some rest, and I gotta fly back to Philadelphia tomorrow. So let's get back to working on this house, shall we? I've gotten a few comments lately as these videos have progressed that all I do is talk. I'm not getting any actual construction done. And well, you're right. And the main reason, as I've said, this is because I'm waiting for permits. The good news is the permit is nearly ready for issuance. I just need to decide on a contractor, then I can get the permit and construction can begin. So after all this time of design and coordination and permitting, I'm almost at the end, but there's a new piece of information now to factor in. So the other day I got a note from my neighbor who lives next door, and it turns out they're renovating their house as well, which generally is really great to hear because that house is probably in just as bad shape as this one, and it's just nice to get an upgrade. So they're planning to add a third floor addition similar to what I'm doing, but they're also proposing cantilevering over our shared alleyway up to the property line to gain some more square footage. Here at the back of the house, I want to show you what I'm talking about. So that's the neighbor that's renovating, and they're actually just tearing down this whole back portion of the house. And they're gonna keep the first floor wall where it's at, but up on the second floor, this whole thing is gonna cantilever out. So right at that line between the brick and the stucco, the second floor and the third floor are gonna cantilever over. So now if I bring my wall out to that point as well, there are some interesting opportunities. Now, rather than 2 stories of exterior wall where I have to install siding and windows, now instead it could be directly abutting my neighbor's wall with proper fire protection. And with that, you get a lot better thermal performance because you're not adjacent to the exterior. It basically becomes an interior wall between the properties. Now I need your help because I'm torn on what direction I want to go. So on one hand, I can continue down the path I've been going down, get my permits, start construction with my original plans, and ignore this new opportunity. On the other hand, I can change everything, hopefully just be able to amend the permits I already have, get new quotes, and kind of change my whole design here. So I would love to know what you think based on this information. Another benefit of this overbuild idea right here is water management. So right here, you can see is a drain. So the whole backyard area right here drains down to that drain. But then as we progress over here, any water that lands in this alleyway is then drained out between the 2 houses. And water is like saturating into those bricks and all the plaster is kind of wet. So if this now basically is a covered area, we don't have any water draining out that alley, which will help my brick wall, and there are joists that are pocketed into the bricks, so no moisture there would be huge. The other thing is this wall right here, which is giving me a bunch of trouble, and right down here in this concrete, this is where the sill plate had just rotted out. So the rot is really because of moisture. As water falls down this wall and in this alley, the water can actually come up through the foundation and just soak all of that wood. So now imagine this is all covered, and we don't really have that problem. So there's a lot to consider here, and what my neighbor's doing is really maybe a great opportunity and also great timing. Back inside the house now, I want to show you basically what would have to happen to get this overbuild over there. Basically this whole floor system, all these joists, and these ones need to be redone anyway, but essentially all these would have to come out, basically demoing this whole middle section of the house, because all these joists need to be replaced with longer ones that, you know, cantilever over, and this wall would probably have to just be rebuilt. So there's some opportunities though. If I'm rebuilding this floor, I have to reframe the stair. If I'm reframing the stair, the city will require me to rebuild this because it's not to code, which is potentially an opportunity. Also, this column here could be removed because I could reframe all these joists a little bit higher to remove the step down, because the ceiling here is lower than the ceiling here. So I get a higher ceiling. I would get a new stair that, instead of winding up and around, I could just run totally straight. And of course, the big perk of doing this is more space in this tiny house. Now, one of the downsides of this overbuild is that one, the kitchen window here would get a lot less light, and upstairs there would be no windows at all on that wall. So that might actually save me money to not have to buy more windows, but you get a little bit less light into the house. So I know people want to just watch progress being made, but I just want to talk about the importance of this phase of the project, of the decision making. It's like, if you make the wrong decision from the start, no amount of building in the future is gonna fix that. So I really struggle with decisions like these, because on one hand, I'm so close to just starting. I nearly have a permit, and now everything's up in the air. I try to remind myself of the bigger picture, and although I really don't want to delay the project even more, looking back, what is a couple months if it's going to be 50 to 100 years of a house that's going to function a lot better, that's going to have more space, that's going to solve water issues, that's going to have a better stair? Like, all of these things in the short term are tough, but in the long term are probably the right thing to do. But it's also really scary to go into even more debt to afford the project. So long story short, these are really tough decisions to make. So I'll keep you updated with what we decide here.